On earth are the people behind these windows going to decide on our behalf, having just gone to the election? So let's just talk to a few people who've come to watch this extraordinary scene here. By the way, I've just also talked to someone from Turkish television and Jordanian television. The world's media really is here trying to figure out what's going on. What are you doing here?
Watching the election.
Right.
And the aftermath.
The election's over. What about the aftermath?
The aftermath, well, it's a disaster, isn't it? A political crisis on the back of an economic disaster.
This is not what you expected.
Well, I think we all predicted a hung parliament, and now we've got it, and it does nothing for the country in terms of stability and decisiveness and where we go from here.
Are you worried that decisions are being made on your behalf that you didn't want to see at the end of this process?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that's always made the country rather great is that we've always returned to majority government that's been very decisive and taken some very strong decisions. And now we're in a period of instability and even more indecision at a time when economically we're in the same. So I think it's a very unfortunate outcome at this time.
But we did always know that a hung parliament was a real possibility here.
Yes, I think that's the case, yes. And I think maybe if we had prepared a little better for it, but the parties are so far apart that really any deal brokered now would be done so, I think, really only on a temporary basis.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Well, as you can see, people are gathering here. I'm sure this crowd is going to grow as the day progresses. And of course, everyone here is looking for answers. And to be honest, answers aren't really very forthcoming. Back to you, Andrew, in the bubble.
Thank you, Matt. Well, Cheltenham, the Liberal Democrats hold Cheltenham, and I think we have a result from Cheltenham. Here we are. Let's
Andrew
just have
North,
this.
being the acting returning officer at the election of a Member of Parliament for the Cheltenham constituency, held on the 6th
This is a very,
day
very
of May 2010,
tight-run thing. Majority of 316 between Liberal Democrat and Conservative last time round. Number 6 on the Conservative target list. Here's the result.
Peter Bowman, UK Independence Party, 1,192. Mark Stephen Coote, the Conservative Party candidate, 21,739. James Green, the Labour Party candidate, 2,703. Dancing Ken Hanks, Monster Raving Loony William Hill Party, 493. Martin Charles Horwood, Liberal Democrats, 26,600.
Well, the figure got drowned in the applause. 26,659 for the Liberal Democrats,
again,
and they held this with an increased majority.
And 59.
Majority
The number of ballot papers rejected,
4,920, up 4,500 from last time round. So the Liberal Democrats hold on to Cheltenham. Conservatives very much hope to take that. It was number 6 in their target list, but the Liberal Democrats held it.
Unmarked or wholly void for uncertainty.
And Martin Horwood has been an MP there since 2005, spokesman for the Environment and Food and Rural Affairs. A swing 4.3% Conservative to Liberal Democrats. Now we're waiting, it being just after 2 o'clock, for David Cameron, who's going to be speaking outside Conservative Party headquarters. And Andrew Marr is there again. Andrew, what more have you learnt?
Well, I think what we're going to see is the moment when David Cameron asserts his right to be Prime Minister. Really, since this extraordinary drama began, 14 hours ago when that first exit poll emerged, David Cameron and his team have said very, very little as they've tried to work out what's going to happen, what they can do. In a traditional election, the electorate, as it were, crowns somebody Prime Minister. That hasn't happened this time, so this is when I think David Cameron reaches out and takes the crown. He has drawn already a huge crowd of people here to see what he's going to say. I don't expect that we're going to get a detailed response to any kind of Liberal Democrat shopping list, but as has been said, they're not in a hugely powerful position. He could dare them to vote down a Queen's speech. He knows, like everybody else knows, that he has to take this country through a very, very difficult economic situation. And if he can't rule, either as a minority or in some agreement with the Liberal Democrats, and there has to be an election, it's the Conservative Party that has by far the largest amount of money, the war chest for that second election, though the Labour Party, I can tell you, have also held some money back in case there's a second election. So this is a very, very tense moment. This is absolutely hardball. This is the poker. This is the most difficult moment for David Cameron in his political career, the last few hours. And I think what we're going to have now, probably David Cameron and a few members of the shadow cabinet standing.
Prove that it is capable of seeking to govern in the national interest. At the same time, this election campaign has made it abundantly clear that our electoral system is broken. It simply doesn't reflect the hopes and aspirations of the British people. So I repeat again my assurance that whatever happens in the coming hours and days and weeks, I will continue to argue not only for the greater fairness in British society, not only the greater responsibility in economic policy making, but also for the extensive, real reforms that we need to fix our broken political system. Thank you very, very much.
Are you ruling out a deal with the Labour Party? The British people have given a verdict, and I think they've given a verdict that they have voted out a Labour government. They do not want a Labour government. The most realistic alternative, which I think they've hinted at, is a minority Conservative government, which, if you like, you could say was on probation. I think they.
No, let's go back to Cheltenham. We will be there. Just a reminder, that's 2:30. We're expecting David Cameron to come out, and according to what we've just heard, actually say in effect that he thinks he has the right to be Prime Minister. Well, we shall see. Emily Maitlis, in the meantime, yes, on this Cheltenham result.
We're trying to raise the tone with a spa town round here. At Cheltenham, Lib Dem hold, as you've seen. Every seat that the Conservatives don't take at this point is a major blow to the maths. So Martin Horwood holding that. This is one of the few that we were analysing before. A very, very tight Lib Dem Tory race here. Westmoreland is still to come. There are 4 other Labour Lib Dem marginals as well that we're looking at, Labour Tory marginals.
But before you move on, Emily, look at those changes. That was what most of us were expecting 24 hours ago, before we had the exit poll, before we had the results. A great Lib Dem surge, the Tories up a bit, Labour down. Had that been the story of all these Lib Dem Tory contests through the night, had we had this 4.3% swing across the board, we would now be talking about 90 or 100 Lib Dem MPs. We would be talking about a Lib-Lab coalition. So I think the Lib Dems, and indeed Labour, will be looking at this result with a certain wistfulness, saying, I wish they were all like that, but they weren't. It's exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the night, we would have been thinking that the Cleggmania that we'd heard so much about would have surged through. Then the exit poll. Is there any indication that Westmoreland will follow a similar trend, or is that still very much up to play?
Any of us at this stage, when we see the variety of swings in these tight Lib Dem Tory contests, any of us who isn't at the counts trying to predict Westmoreland, I think is riding for a fall, Emily.
Straight back to you, David.
Thanks very much. Well, I think at this stage we should go to Jeremy Paxman while we wait for this statement from the St Stephen's Constitutional Club, Old Queen Street. Jeremy.
Well, with us now, Jonathan Powell, former Chief of Staff for Tony Blair. Tony Benn, I suppose we call you an elder statesman nowadays, don't we? Former Labour Cabinet Minister and the like. And Jim Wallace, whom we were told only a moment ago, was intimately involved in these negotiations on behalf of the Liberal Democrats.